I'm your host, Precious. Today we have as a guest, want to introduce yourself?
Brian, I'm here again. How y'all doing?
And today we're going to be talking about, or I am posing the question of, for the single ladies, how do you know when a man is ready? This came up as a topic of conversation with a group of friends, and we drew a blank. We're like, I don't know. And it was men and women.
Yeah, for sure.
So I was like, well, this is a good question to pose with somebody who has lots of opinions. So, what do you think? What do you think as far as what are the indicators, or should I say, what should a woman look for?
Mm-hmm.
How should we start this? What should a woman, in general, how do you know? How does a man know he's ready? Let's start there. How does a man know that he is ready for something serious?
Okay, yeah. So that's the part that, like you saw in your experiment, asking it to a group of friends and they drew a blank, is because men usually don't even know the answer themselves. So there's a process that has to happen, right? So it usually takes a man being with the right woman to realize that he is ready. So it's for men, it's not something that happens at the beginning of the relationship, but it happens within the relationship, if that makes sense. So
like she motivates him to get ready, essentially.
Exactly. To desire to hang on to this. You know what I'm saying? That woman will do that to him. So
Gotcha.
It's not something that happens at the beginning, I don't think. It happens within the relationship. Yeah, but I can give you indicators as well, though. There's still a certain type of man. I'll further elaborate. There's still indicators for a man being even ready for that position. Because being in a position to where you're saying, okay, being serious is something that I'm even looking for. There's still indicators for a woman to know if the man is prepping himself for that. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, like this when you said they don't know until they're already in the relationship, and they kind of assess the woman, and then she makes him out. My immediate thought was that sounds like the woman is signing up for a lot of hurt for him to figure it out how to get there. You know what I'm saying? That was my immediate thought. But so if there are indicators, then maybe that we can avoid some of the hurt.
Exactly.
Maybe not all.
Exactly.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
What would you say are some of the indicators?
Okay, so I guess, like, first off, indicators would be like almost the surface level. So age is going to be one of the obvious ones. Like if he's on the super young side, I wouldn't expect a woman to go into that expecting marriage. If he's 20, 21 years old, though people do it, there are exceptions. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say this is the rule.
Yeah, there's
there are
exceptions and there's the rule. So
exactly,
we're talking about the rule, right?
Yeah. So if you're looking for the rule, you want to go for a man in his late 20s, early 30s. That type of deal is probably going to be, if you're at least in his late 20s, I should say.
Okay.
I'll just leave it at that. At least in his late 20s and beyond for serious relationship as far as age goes. And then
what if somebody's like in their like 40s though? Like,
yeah, so I say at least late 20s.
Because my thought process went into when you started trying to break down the age. I'm like, well, at a certain point, is it an indicator that they aren't serious because they're in their 40s and aren't married or in a serious relationship or have never been in a serious relationship? Like, that seems like a red flag to me. I'm like, what's wrong with you?
Sure.
Like,
if they're telling you they've never been in one,
judgmental. Yeah, that seems like a red flag. Like,
yeah. So that's one of those things that you as a woman need to get to the bottom of. So if you're on that first date and he's saying, I'm 40 years old and I've never been in a serious relationship, you need to say, okay, well, what happened? Some people, it just hasn't lined up, or they were deployed in the military or something. Like, he has to give you some kind of reason that would make sense to you. And if he doesn't, that's a red flag. You can count that as a red flag. So yeah, if you're talking late 40s and never been in a serious relationship. You want me to go some more indicators?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah. So another indicator would probably be Career for me, I would say where a person is in their career. And this is when you first posed the question, it's something that I kind of thought about on two different ways of asking it. The first way was when does a man know he's ready? Mm-hmm. And then how does a woman know he's ready? Right. So when I first heard it, I took it as when does a man know he's ready? Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I would have to give men advice for. I would be like, hey, you should wait till you achieve certain things in your career before you try to settle down with a woman. Right. So get established somewhat, get your foot in the door. You should find that job that you say, OK, this is me. And this is something that I want to, be consistent in, and then spend a little time in it. Because a lot of times, like, as you know, like in relationships, it's going to require some sacrifices. Right. So if you desire to travel in a job or to, work some crazy hours, sometimes it's best to do that in your first couple of years in that job. Go ahead and knock that out. Show them, hey, look, I'm a go-getter. I could do that whole thing, get that out your system, and then work on that whole, I want a serious relationship. That
because it's easier to do that when you're not connected to someone else. And then you have to now make these decisions based off of, can they do it too? I definitely agree there. But I think that answers the question on both parts. Like, when does a man know he's ready? When he's achieved a certain level in his career, where he's past that stage of, let me be extremely flexible, right?
Yeah, make a name for myself.
Knows what he wants, right? But then it also it explains to a woman, okay, is he past that point, or is he still every weekend he has to be away, or or the whole week he has to be away? Like I've known people like that. Like the entire week they're in another city, and then they live in a completely different city, and it's just on the weekends. So it's like, well, but your life is in Atlanta, your life is in Charlotte, like yeah. So I mean, that still answers both questions, so that's good. Okay, so it's an age, where they are in their career. Okay,
Another one is going to be the values, right? So I know a lot of women on the first date or whatever, they start doing this interview process with men, right? They want to figure out who you are, who you're talking to, whoever, that whole process. So you got to figure out, don't just ask questions. You kind of want to paint a picture with those questions, if that makes sense. Because
tell me. I'm curious.
Yeah, so me as a man, I know how to, every single question you ask me, if I've ever been on a first date, I know how to answer these questions to what you want to hear.
Appealing.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's what I'm going to say. And it's not necessarily
true or not.
Yeah, it's not necessary. And maybe it is manipulative. Maybe it is. But at the same point, it could be true. That's the scary thing about it.
Person.
Yeah, it could, like the things that I'm answering, they could be true. Because like I said, as we get into this relationship, I might want to do that with you. You know, so.
But I might not.
Exactly. Yeah. So, of course, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna say the positive because that's what she wants to hear, and that's really, I'm hoping for that as well. I'm hoping that I'm not just on this with somebody who's just gonna be that wasn't a person for the rest of my life. Everybody wants to find that. Men might act like, oh yeah, I'm not looking for that chick who's my ride or die forever, but every man is. In the end, that's what you want. So. So for him to know if he's ready, he's going to have certain values. And so you as the woman have to figure out where he kind of like, don't just ask him if he wants kids. Ask him like, okay, how does he want to raise those kids? How do you see those kids growing up? What is something that you would expect as far as discipline goes? You want to get the full picture, not just a piece of it,
Well, I think that's how you can sift out the BS, like if you ask a surface level question, somebody can easily provide a surface level answer. But like where you can hear this is not sincere, it's in the details. So this is good.
Exactly. Yeah. So you gotta pry a little bit, and just because you're asking questions about his kids or wanting to have kids, you as a woman, you have to remember that you don't want to fully just say, oh yeah, he says he wants to have kids and now I'm in love with that. Because some women do that, they get so caught up at what you said on date one that they're like, oh yeah, this is the blueprint. But really that's just the values in his mind. That's what he wants eventually, So if everything lines up, this is how he wants things to go.
Yeah.
And so,
and it doesn't even mean that it's with you. Like, it's just, that's what he wants. And that's what he wants for his life. So
exactly.
like, be sure to not translate that. And I think we as human beings tend to hear, but specifically women, I think we seem to be more guilty of that, or that's just my experience of translating what is being said. You know, not hearing it for face value, but I hear it as what I want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you said value. So you talked about, okay, whether or not they want kids, because not every woman wants kids, you know, but like whether they want kids, and whether they're thinking about it. Because if it's like, I don't know, right? Like that would be a red flag for me. Like, you ain't thought about this?
Yeah, he should at least have a yes or a no. Yeah. Right. And then you build on that a little bit more. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But he's not ready if he hasn't even thought to say yes or no to something as concrete as kids, you know?
Right.
And that's what you want to pry to, not just on kids. You want to, you know, talk about business, because if you talk about a marriage, you know, a serious relationship, that's a business partner. That's somebody who's gonna, you know, be investing stuff. You want to try to figure out how this spends money. If you go to this person's house, you know, I don't know how some people date, but some people date and they go to a person's house. You want to look at what this person has purchased. You know, if they got a closet full of Nike shoes and they all like stacked up or something like that, is that something that you're into?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So there's certain things.
It's like, I'm not gonna want you spending our money when it becomes our money. I wouldn't want you spending it on that. So that would be a problem for me. This is good. This is good. Yeah. You got some meat here.
And okay. This is the challenging part too, though, because if we're talking about a man who waited till he was 27, you know, to even think about marriage or anything like that, he's gonna have some stuff that you as a woman are gonna say, you don't need that, because when men have money, that they're not sacrificing stupid stuff. But you gotta with your questions, you want to pry in and see if he's over that type of lifestyle. You know, that's what you're trying to figure out there. So. It's a full process in that.
It could be like, okay, like maybe they do have a lot of stuff that maybe you wouldn't spend a lot of money on, but like when they talk about the way that they budget, it's like, okay, maybe they save for it, and this is an overtime thing that they've collected this stuff, you know. Versus as soon as they come out, every time, I'm spending top dollar, like that's completely different from somebody who's like, I want this, but I'm willing to wait a few paychecks, save, make sure I'm putting money in savings, make sure I'm putting money in investing. I'm okay with, we have our things. I think everybody has something that they spend on that they don't really need.
For sure.
I do.
For sure.
So yeah. So I like that. So give grace with that, but just make sure that it aligns with what you want for your future. Yeah. Right. Okay.
For sure. Okay. And it kind of ties into the values thing too. You can start to see a person's values by what they purchase,
right.
And how they spend money, how they use their time. So, if you do get a chance to go into that person's house, use that as a part of your interview phase as well, I guess is what I'm saying, I'm sure women do it subconsciously, whether they do it, in the open or not. I think they do. The first time they go to a man's house and they say, oh, he's got this, this, and this lined up.
I think it's more, for real, I think it's more along the lines of, okay, maybe along the lines of, does he have enough money? Okay.
Yeah.
And then is he clean or is he nasty? I think those are the only two that we're really looking at. And it might also mean like, obviously if there's some stuff with like other women, like indicators that there's other women, then that's but other than that, we're not looking for anything like in what he has, you know what I'm saying? So I think, because I know I definitely didn't look at that. And I'm somebody who's very observant. I mean, I was looking at other stuff for other reasons. We can get into that. But I'm all in the medical cabinet. What you got going on?
Let's stay on to how do you know if a man's ready?
So like when we talk about that, like I was looking more along the lines of, does he seem stable? Because like, okay, if he only got a futon and a TV, that doesn't sound like somebody who's stable to me. Like somebody who might be, they're trying to keep things to a minimum so they can move quickly and move a lot, maybe, or it's like so I was looking at that, but I wasn't looking at like how he spends his money. Because like, somebody can have really nice stuff, but like when you hear their job and then like you don't make a lot of money, but you have a lot of really nice stuff. Is everything on credit? You spend it,
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I don't think that even I wasn't thinking about that. I don't think I was thinking about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, for sure. And one of the things I would say is don't be scared to ask something from a man that he has to actually prove. Like some women will ask you, like how we talk about credit and stuff, like ask a man to actually show you his credit report. And that goes against everything you probably ever heard me say. Say it again? No, nobody ever done it, but they should have, because I've lied about it before. So
this is good. Like, I think talking about getting serious, but like I guess before you get serious, because you would have wasted time if somebody's been lying about it.
Exactly, and that's too easy to lie about. Yeah, it's way too easy to lie about.
Like you wouldn't know. You would never know.
Yeah, it's like, hey, let me see your FICO score. Like, let me see it.
You can pull it up on your phone now. Like most those on the apps, they have like something where it can connect to your score. So that's not even a hard thing where I gotta go and pull it and get the paperwork. I don't have access to a printer right now. Like none of that is a thing anymore. So yeah, that's a bold one.
It is.
I don't know how many women are gonna take that, because I'm telling you, like I tell when I'm giving advice, I tell women to ask these pertinent questions first date, right? And they're like, whoa. Like, I don't want to scare them off. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, okay, if only person you're going to scare off is somebody who's not on the same page as you. That's what I feel. Okay. Yeah. So if I'm saying that and it like terrifies them, I don't know if they're going to receive, ask him his credit score and ask him to show me.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, that's the thing though. So if I'm a man, right. And I'm saying, hey, look, I'm looking at this not as just me going, we're not just about to be, willy nilly. I'm trying to get serious with you. I want to know yours too. So,
as well.
Yeah. Be like, hey, I'll show you mine. If you show me yours, that type, you can create it in some way or form or fashion like that. Because as a woman, you need to come. Don't just ask for a man who's ready. I think, what was that, Life Jennings who got that song? Don't be a nickel out here looking for a dime or something like that. So, you got to make sure you together too. So that whole aspect of it is, look, we're going into business. And if I was going into business with somebody, I want to know the reason why they ask for this before they give you a loan, like what is your credit score? So the same deal, if me and you are going into business together, I need to see it. So yeah, I don't have a problem being direct with that if I'm being honest, but as a man, I probably would. I would be like, oh man, she just put me on the spot. But know this, if my credit score was good, I would have no shame in pulling it up and shutting it down.
You would be offended if yours is bad. You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? So I think it sends a message that you can't just tell me any and everything.
Exactly.
You can't just tell me, you can't give me lip service. You have to, I'm a show me kind of girl. You got to show me. Yeah. And I think that's a good precedence to set early on.
For sure.
Like you said, men oftentimes, and the women too, we know what to say, that we know what you want to hear, and exactly. so it's about show me. I like, this is good, Brian. This is good. This is good. Okay.
So another way to find out if a man is, or just, we want the flags, right? Or we want the indicators, I guess. Indicators to figure out if a man is ready or not is also how he speaks, right? So how he talks to people, how he interacts with other people and stuff like that. Really what you want is a man who has the respect of his peers and also doesn't have the issue of not only talking to you, but talking to other people as well. So you do want to take note of, has that man developed? Because that's about development with the man, so the more and more.
You said talking to you versus talking to other people talking. What do you mean?
Okay. Let me break it down. So some men are good at talking to the woman that they're trying to pursue, but whenever they have interactions with other people, it sounds real shaky sometimes, and they have bad communication habits and things of that nature. So I'm not saying it's a red flag, but there's certain things that let you know that a man is still developing. So if he hasn't yet learned
of confidence, is that what you like leaning towards? Or
I don't really like confidence as an indicator, because sometimes women can get fooled by confidence. Because if I have confidence talking to women and I can talk to you real good, sometimes that means I've had a lot of practice at this, and I know.
It's a player. Yeah.
So you want to see how he converses with men as well, not just with women or a woman he's attracted to. You want to see how that person interacts with people. You want to see how he talks to people that are above his stature, somebody who's at a higher point in his life, and then also how he talks to somebody who's at a lower point in their life than him. And the ability of that man to do that will let you know about his state, So it's important that women understand that men have to develop. We develop at a different speed. Men and women develop at different speeds, right? So men usually take longer because of just the nature of being a man, and women they develop faster because the nature of being a woman. So you want to find a man who's in that, who's etching towards where you're at as far as development goes. So it's real hard to. I
do like what you said about what you said about him having the respect of his peers, because so I've gotten, I'm not gonna say no names, but I've gotten in the past into relationships with people, and you can tell their role in the friendship. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody has a role, exactly, right? Yeah. So
break it down so the people know what you're talking about.
So like even with women and men, so there's the funny one. There's the maybe like everybody has a role. Like maybe the overconfident one, or and then there's in almost there's
one who gets disrespected and gets clowned.
There's the fool. Okay. Yeah. Like people expect him to be the fool. Okay. So that's the person who is doing things that constantly they get in their own way. Right. And they're doing silly and stupid things. And a lot of it is for attention or to please others. Right.
Yeah.
This is not somebody who you want to settle down with. Right? Because like I said, if everything is about to the detriment of them, okay? But like it's amusing to other people. And so like, and they definitely expect you to play this role, and you play into that expectation. Okay. Yeah. So like when you said that, that's what I immediately thought of. Like, is he the fool?
Yeah.
In the group. Is he the fool of the group? Because if he's the fool of the group, walk away, sis.
He's not ready. Yeah. He's not ready. He's not ready.
Yeah, like he always doing something crazy. He always that one. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want that one. I don't want that one.
He's not fully developed, and there's no way he's gonna be.
Yeah. You're doing stuff specifically just to make people laugh, or no, they find that funny, even though like I'm hurting myself in the process. Like that's silly. Another thing you said that made me think about something was like, like you said how he, I think you said something about how he speaks, and it made me think about accountability. So like when you talk to him, and you can agree or disagree and let me know, or expand on it. When you talk to him and maybe you ask him about like history, his past relationships, is everybody to blame in the past relationships? If every woman just crazy? Or do you have some accountability as to why these relationships didn't work out?
Yeah.
I think that's a huge red flag of this person. Because the person that can't take accountability isn't ready for relationships of any kind, I don't think.
No, I don't think so either. He's not going to take accountability when he's in a relationship with you either. And that's kind of what I'm getting at too. Yeah. Because me, like I said, I've lied to women before, right? And so even I've known to tell the lie of, you know, when they ask about what happened with your last relationship, I know to tell a lot of, well, you know, we was both too young. We both was messing around. You know, you always give it. It was never just, you never put all the blame on her. You never put all the blame on yourself. You take the comfortable route.
That's actually smart, but I'm telling you that a lot of men.
I know there are men who don't. Yeah, he was like, oh no, my ex was wild.
A lot of men that like, oh, she was crazy. Dude, I'm like, and so like, but I always in my mind would translate that into what did you do to make her crazy? Because everybody has crazy in them. I'm be for real. Everybody has the capacity for crazy. Okay, and it's about who they are around that brings it out. Okay, and I assume that you're not crazy enough to sign up for somebody who acted crazy from the beginning. Right?
That's the point. Either you chose crazy or you made her crazy. That's the only options when you say that. That's why I don't say that. Yeah. So, that's the reason why I used to lie about it. It's like, nah, because I don't pick crazy.
You don't have that fairness, though. So I talk about the exception and the rule. You are the exception in understanding what that sounds like. Whereas gotcha. I'm just putting it off on her, and then she just gonna receive that, like.
Like oh yeah. This guy's picking up crazy girls, yeah. So.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. No, for sure. But the respect of your peers portion, like that was nailed on the head. That's exactly like what I mean. Like that's 100% important because your peers are around you more. You know, like people I work with, my coworkers and stuff like that, they're around me more and they know my output. They know my consistency. They know all of these things that, believe it or not, that's what you're looking for in a relationship. You want to see my output. You want to see my consistency. You want to see how dedicated I am to a thing. So if they don't respect me, then there's a reason for that. So I'm not saying it's an automatic, hey, don't talk to this guy, but you do need to investigate a little bit further before you start saying, oh yeah, this is a serious guy, you know? So it's one of those, the process of that.
Absolutely. I mean, you something you said just now was about like, you know, they spend more time with you, you know, and so like you have to talk about people's influence and I think there's something to be said about what you're able to achieve based off of the people that are around you, you know, and I think a lot of that is based off of expectation. And so if I don't expect much from you based off, a lot of times based off of what I've seen, you know, it's hard. It's extremely difficult to rise above that, and that's surrounding you. Okay, gotcha. But it is because of you now. Like, you know, a lot of times because of past stuff that you've done, you know, or present stuff that you've done. But like, it's hard to rise above that. So it is. If we're talking about that's the path of least resistance, maybe sis find somebody who already has the respect of his peers.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're just gonna put the things out there that you should investigate more into. I think that's what I'm trying to get. Right. So next one. All right. So this one is kind of tricky, right? So, but it's family background, right? Okay. And this is important because like me, so I grew up, and so a lot of stuff I learned about being a man comes via trial and error, right? Okay. So it's a very tricky platform. So I feel like for a woman who's trying to determine a man that she's going to be with, and if he can be serious or not, one thing she needs to figure out is how his family structure was, or if he had any kind of mentors or solid people in his life that he's looked up to, and ask him about those people. You know, like if he says, hey, I came from a broken home, which is what 50% of America right now. So ask them, okay, well, who is it that you leaned on for understanding for things that you don't know? Like figure those things out about a person.
Who do you have to talk to about, you know, when you're struggling with something? I think that's about mental health. I think a lot too, you know. Yeah. But then also, who holds you accountable? Yeah. You have somebody in your life that holds you accountable. I think that's very real. But like, I always caution. I like the backup of what you said, but I always caution about the family structure, because I had friends that have said that before, like, oh, you know, I want a guy that's from a good family, right? You know, and it's like, okay, so you could be missing out on, you know, someone phenomenal who has learned the lessons, you know, and who will be there for you just because, you know, because he can't pick who his parents are. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
He can pick how he responds to it. You know what I'm saying? So like I like the backup of what you said. So about, like the meat of it is, who do you have to lean on? What are your ideas as far as who a man should be?
Yeah, who's teaching you that? Somebody has to be teaching you that.
Right.
And if you aren't learning,
what is that? What is it? I want to know what it is, because I think of, like, I'm thinking of a specific example. Okay. And there's this guy, and he had mom and dad, right? But dad cheated all the time and did all this stuff out in the streets. So, but like you ask him, obviously he's not gonna say that at the beginning. If you ask, if what you're looking for specifically is, what's the family structure? Mom and dad went home, they stayed married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you want to figure it out. Yeah.
So like, and he actually looked up to his father, and he turned out to be just like his father. Okay.
For sure.
Doing the same stuff, and so I'm more about the meat behind that than necessarily that specific question.
Yeah, me too. Same way. I don't mean like, oh yeah, you should just, because he has a mother and father, that's good. Obviously, I wouldn't say that because I wasn't raised that way. But you do want to find out, because as a man, you have to learn how to make decisions and how to develop a vision. So a woman needs to figure out, how is it that this man makes decisions, especially if she's going to be influenced by his decisions. If she's going to be dragged around, pulled around this way and that way by his decisions, she wants to know how he makes decisions is a very important thing for a woman to do. Yeah. So that whole process and what influences him, what goes into his thinking is very important. So there's certain things that I feel like women have to make sure that they're intentional about figuring out, when it comes to that. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the factors, that's probably all I would give as far as like the glaring ones. And if you find those out and you say, okay, I like this, then I would say, yeah, that man's going to be ready if you're in that appropriate position.
Mm-hmm. These are good. Do you have any quick red flags that you would say, like, that's a definite no? All
right. So red flags would be if this dude was like with one of your friends recently or something like that.
Wait. Like, well, why?
Just because I feel like there's a certain level of, all right, there's enough women out here in the world for me as the man to say, you know what?
Thank you.
I'm not going to cause some drama.
We're on the same page. I'm like, I know women that do that. I'm like, all these men out here. I'm sorry. I'm not someone who believes in you just have one person that can make you happy and that you can build a life and create legacy with. I'm not that person. I believe that there are a few people, and it's about finding those people. Absolutely. But like, you really think that God gonna give you your friend man or like some other, like if they're not available. So yeah.
And that shows a lack of restraint on the man is really what I feel like.
Right.
So that man is not capable of turning down what he needs to be able to turn down.
Child.
Yeah. And that's a problem.
You're preaching the whole word. That's the whole word.
So I guess that's one of the things too that you want to look at too, I guess, when trying to search for a man, is does he have the ability to turn down, some woman, if he just responds to everything, if he gets, oh, I'm excited at this attention, that attention, then he's not ready to settle down.
Or staring. Like I remember that being something like, like at other women. Like, while we on a date, really?
He might look and be okay, but if he's like,
yeah.
Somebody
just because they walk past you, and it doesn't mean you're checking them out. So like, that's not what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying when you breaking your neck, like there's a movement going on here.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a lack of restraint, and then
and it's also disrespect too. But I think that's the core of the problem as to why that can be a problem in relationships, is a lack of restraint. And I think a lot of men struggle with that because a lot of men haven't been hit on by women.
Yeah, so for sure.
Like, are you able to turn that down? I remember this. Okay, now nothing ever like came of obviously nothing ever came of that relationship with this person that I went on a date with. but I remember this being something that was refreshing to me. Okay. It was good. Something that this guy did. Me and this guy were having this conversation. We were on a date. We had this conversation at the bar, and the bar was like one of those U-shaped bars that looped around. And
Gotcha.
so, yeah, maybe like 10 feet away, there was a woman straight across from us, right? Attractive woman. She was staring so hard at him, right? So hard. He's an average looking guy. Nothing wrong with him, you know. But I don't get how you could be so moved, you know. You know what I'm saying? As somebody who's obviously interacting with someone else and needs that attention, right? So like that was my takeaway from it. But I was like, you know, do you know her? Because like I'm noticing how hard she's staring, right? He was like, no. He was like, you know, here's the thing about that. He was like, I can't stand women like that because she would not be giving me so much attention if I wasn't
by myself.
Yeah. If I was and that was so refreshing to me. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, this man gets it. It's like, and he doesn't jump to that. You know what I'm saying? He didn't like let me try and play and see what I can. Maybe I can slip on my number later.
Slide with the number on the way out. Yeah.
He definitely could have did that and like been slick about it. Yeah, but he was like he found it disgusting. And that was refreshing to me. Like I felt I recognized that was something that wasn't normal, at least from my experience.
No, it's definitely not.
People that wasn't ready.
The norm is to try to capitalize. You know what I'm saying? You got to speak to the loins and can't do nothing about it. So, but there is a point, you know, where you start to grow. But I feel like that restraint piece, this is what you have to be careful with. That restraint piece is not going to be the first date. He's not going to have restraint on the first date. That's going to be after time, me realizing that this person is the type of person that I would settle with. You know, so the restraint is something that's going to develop. And that's where it's real tricky for a lot of women.
I think there's levels. So like, okay, I think that right away, like you said.
As far as looking, I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah. So like I think right away, not dating somebody's friend, you know, like that's a right away. Or like, I do think the staring, you shouldn't be staring on a first date. You know, I don't think at any point you should be staring at another woman while you're on a date with somebody else, you know? So I think that's a right away. But I think maybe like he could still be dating other people, you know, because like if we're both dating other people still, and we haven't decided we're just going to be together, I might not show restraint in that way where I might not talk about it. That might be the restraint that I show you. You know, I might not be sleeping with everybody. That might be some of the restraint, but it looks different, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm with you. But I feel like for a man, he's probably gonna look even on the at the beginning when y'all look, especially if you know I'm dating other people. Yeah, you probably will catch me looking because and it's weird, and maybe it's wrong, but men we pick up or we figure out we like women by the way they look, you know. So it's
so you're still on the prowl.
Yeah, so he has to switch out of that mentality. So to tell him to do that for a relationship where I know that she's dating other people and I'm dating other people is somewhat unrealistic. Because if you are still dating other people, I know for you as a woman, it's a lot easier because men are checking you out without you having to look at them. So as we leaving this same event that we at this first date, some dude might slip you his number, you know, or might try to, you know, engage in some conversation to say whatever. So me as a man, my mindset is going to be, well, if she's not off the market, I'm not off the market. So me not being off the market is me still looking around. And I wouldn't stare just because I feel like that's bad game anyways, to give a woman that much attention. You don't want to give them too much attention anyway, because they be like, oh, well, he liked me. So,
he was all into me, girl.
Yeah.
He was with somebody else, he was still
exactly, yeah. And it makes it real hard for you to even pursue her. You coming from, oh yeah, I was dating the other chick, and then I saw you. Like it's not really a good look. But some dudes can still know how to turn that off.
That piece right there is why I would say I wouldn't even do that. that's not the time to be on the prowl while you're actually on a date with somebody else. Like that's not, pick another time when y'all with your friends, you know, to be on the prowl. Like, and I like, I've been in situations like that in the past where like I'm dating somebody, he didn't do that. And I've also been in situations where the guy did do that. So like, if you do it, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna do it harder because I'm only doing it to get back at shit.
Yeah.
And then they looking like, really? Yes. I don't even care what he look like. I'm looking hard.
Oh, man. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
So like you show me respect, I show you respect.
Yeah, for sure. That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think these are good, and I think it gives our single ladies something to work with. It's reasonable, and I think, like I said, these are things that are easy to spot and easy to ask. I'm curious if anybody's going to take up that challenge of
on the credit report.
Yeah, I almost wish you would have told me that when I was single. Like, I would just want to do it to see how it would play out. Like, it would just be an experiment for me.
just as a caveat, right? So as a disclaimer, so women, whenever the man starts talking about, hey, you know, I really think we can do this on a serious level, that's when you want to ask that question. You don't want to ask that at the very beginning. I want to make sure I'm clear about that. Yeah.
You want to come off like a gold digger, maybe.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And you want to see this, that, and the third. So ask him when he says, hey, I want to take this to the next level, blah, blah, blah. What your goal should be as a woman is, what do you mean by that? You want to pry into that. When a man tells you what he wants to do, you always pry into that. You know, you want to dig deeper, make him fully express what he means by that and what he expects and how he sees that playing out. So if he says, yeah, I'm trying to take this to the next level, you know, you're very important in my life and yada, 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 yada. You need to understand what yada, yada, yada means. You know, don't just let him off the hook with that and say, okay.
I'm gonna say this. Okay, I like what you said, but I'm going to illuminate it a little bit more. Okay, right. So one thing you specifically said was to ask, and I think women tend to kind of give the answer. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. Like we'll almost tell you what we want you to say, and you pretty much have to piggyback off of what we're saying. So like genuinely ask and shut up. And hear what he's saying and ask follow-up questions, but don't give him the answers. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. Yeah, because if you give it to me, I'm taking it. Yeah, that's how it goes.
I would do that. I feel like I really try to be honest, but that's too tempting. That's like I think most people would. I would. I'd just be for real. I'd be like, sure, yeah, that sounds good. Like, even though that may not have been what I was about to say, and maybe what I was about to say was more revealing as to my character. You know,
exactly. Yeah.
So let them say what they have to say. Don't tell them what it is.
Yeah, and I would advise that on any conversation with any person. You know,
right?
Sometimes it's best to let people just spill it out. You know, that's a position of power. You get to listen to what they say rather than you actually telling them something.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
You know, that's how I do all right.
I feel like that was great. I'm for real. I'm like, you tell me this stuff when I was single, but I mean, we can probably have conversations. It's just hard. It's hard to sift out everything too. And then also you're at a different place now.
Yeah, like I said, it's trial and error for me. You know, so everything has been I'm learning. You know, so
I think this is great advice. This is great. This is good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the show and for giving these ladies some advice. I definitely think that that's helpful. I think even if you're in a relationship and maybe you didn't do it at the beginning, you could still ask these questions and figure out is this person for me? Yes, he might be a good man, but that don't mean he's a man for you. Like,
for sure.
So you got to find that out. And I think that these are some good tips for that. So that's all we have. You want to go ahead and plug your podcast?
Yeah, for sure. It's Perhaps I'm Wrong. I'm on Anchor, Spotify, Breaker, Castbox, and Apple Podcasts, something like that. Y'all check it out.
All the platforms. I don't know. So it's called Perhaps I'm Wrong. Check it out. It is. You do a phenomenal job. I wish you could hear how I speak about your podcast and the way that you deliver. Because I sing your praises all the time because it really is good. Even if I don't agree with everything you say, the arguments are dynamic to where I can get your train of thought. You know what I'm saying? They're really good. They're really good. So that's all I have for you today. And I want you to be blessed, everybody. And be sure to, check out my Instagram. I'm on Instagram under poppin_precious. If you follow me, I follow back. That's all we have. Have a blessed one. Goodbye.
Yes, they are.